Before this story starts, pause and listen to the quiet around you. The scariest things don't appear suddenly. They are usually already there, waiting for you to notice. If you enjoy realistic horror that feels like it could happen tonight, subscribe to Anomaly Stories and like this video. Share it with someone who lives above the ground floor. They might understand this more than anyone else. I moved into a second-floor apartment 6 months ago. A normal concrete building from the early 90s. Nothing abandoned, nothing creepy. Just a place with aging paint and the faint smell of dust that never leaves the hallways. My apartment sits at the end of the corridor and shares a wall with the emergency stairwell. The type of metal fire exit that people rarely use except during inspections. 4 months. I never thought about it until the night I woke at 2:31 a.m. to the sound of footsteps echoing down the stairwell, not going down, slowly, evenly spaced, as if someone had been descending for a very long time. I assumed a neighbor returning late, but the sound never reached a door. It never stopped, just kept moving downward beyond what the building's height should allow. The building has only 5 floors, yet I heard steps for nearly 3 minutes. The next night the same thing happened at exactly 2:31 a.m., and curiosity made me open my apartment door and look through the small glass window of the stairwell door. The light inside flickered weakly. I could see the stairs spiraling downward farther than they physically should. Instead of ending at the ground floor landing, they continued into shadow. I opened the door slightly. The air was colder, noticeably colder than the hallway, carrying a faint smell like damp concrete after rain. I listened. No footsteps now, just distant echoing, as if movement had already passed far below. I closed the door and convinced myself perspective was confusing me. But the third night the footsteps were accompanied by another sound, breathing slow and tired, like someone exhausted from a very long descent. This time I brought my phone and turned on the flashlight, opening the stairwell fully and stepping onto the landing. The light revealed normal stairs down to the first floor, and then another flight, and another beyond the building's base level. I counted carefully while descending. Ground floor, basement maintenance level. Then a level that did not exist on the building plan posted near the elevator. The air grew heavier, and the echo of my steps lagged behind me longer than natural acoustics allow. After around 5 minutes, I felt uneasy and went back up. When I reached my apartment floor, the hallway clock still read 2:33 a.m. Only 2 minutes had passed. The following day, I asked the building manager about extra basements. He insisted there was only one. That night, I waited by the stairwell door before 2:31. Exactly at the time, footsteps began again. But this time, they were above me, descending toward my level. I held the handle frozen as the steps reached my floor, then continued past without the door opening, moving down into the impossible levels again. I opened the door immediately. No one there, only the stairs stretching downward farther than before. Over the next week, I began hearing different sounds, dragging metal, quiet murmuring, sometimes multiple sets of steps overlapping, but never meeting. Each night, the descent lasted longer. Eventually, I decided to follow the sound when it began. I walked down for what felt like 20 minutes, phone battery draining unusually fast, until I reached a landing where the walls changed from painted concrete to raw, unfinished cement. There were no fire safety signs anymore, only blank walls absorbing the light. I noticed faint markings scratched into the wall, vertical lines grouped in fives like someone counting days, thousands of them. My phone suddenly displayed no signal and the time read to 31 again, even though it should have been closer to 3. Then I heard the breathing directly below me. But new things began happening, faint dust appearing outside my apartment door each morning, like someone had stood there, and sometimes I woke feeling the floor vibrating slightly beneath my bed at 2:31, as if movement deep below aligned exactly under my room. One night, I heard a soft knock from the stairwell door, not loud, just polite, 3 times spaced evenly. I did not open it. The next night, the knock came from my apartment door instead. I checked the peephole empty hallway. The knocking continued once every night closer to 2:31. Eventually, I placed a chair against the door and stayed awake recording audio. At 2:31 the stairwell footsteps began again, but this time they were climbing upward rapidly, much faster than a person could run stairs, stopping directly outside my door. The doorknob turned slightly, then stopped, as if respecting a boundary. In the morning, faint footprints of fine gray dust led from the stairwell door to mine, and ended there. I reported it to the manager. He blamed construction dust. That same evening, the stairwell door in the hallway was found open even though it ought, and cold air flowed continuously upward. I decided to end it by going down once more, this time earlier at 1:50 a.m. Before the sounds began, the stairs looked normal at first, but when 2:31 arrived, my phone screen dimmed by itself, and the lower darkness shifted as if depth changed. I walked down for nearly half an hour without reaching an end, until I found a final landing with a single metal door and no handle on my side. On it were the same scratch marks and one written phrase barely visible: "Upstairs is later." The breathing came from behind the door. Slowly, the door pushed inward toward me even without a handle. At the far end stood my own apartment door, slightly open, with light inside. I heard movement from within, and my own voice speaking faintly like a recording repeating daily routines. I stepped back in panic, and the stairwell behind me now extended upward endlessly instead of downward. The footsteps began again, but this time they were on my level, approaching from the direction of my apartment upstairs, or what should have been upstairs. I ran blindly upward until I burst through the real stairwell door into my building corridor. Morning sunlight was visible through the windows, but my phone still read 2:31 a.m. Since then, I no longer hear the footsteps every night. Some nights are silent, but occasionally, at exactly 2:31, I hear only one step directly outside my apartment. And sometimes, when I walk down the hallway, the stairwell door is already slightly open, as if I just came back through it, even when I haven't left yet.